Well, welcome to the Nation family. We're here today with Shayna Hebert, the Policy Director at the U.S. Jesuit Conference Social and International Ministries Office, getting an immigration update. Shayna, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Shayna, could you give us an update on where we are in the immigration debate? My sense is that we've reached an initial kind of stage or passed through an initial stage. Could you speak to where we are?
Sure. So we spent the last few weeks with the Judiciary Committee of the Senate really combing through the bill, and then the bill that was introduced a few weeks or about a month back, and then getting through a number of amendments that were introduced. About 300 amendments were introduced by the members of the Judiciary Committee. So some of the worst amendments that were introduced were defeated because of the power of really the Immigration Reform Network, and some really kind of important but modest gains were made within the Senate Judiciary Committee. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted 13-5 this week to pass the bill out of committee onto the Senate floor, and we'll be looking forward to it coming to the Senate floor for debate as early as the second week of June.
Great. And Shayna, as advocates for humane, comprehensive immigration reform, could you speak to any real positives from the Judiciary Committee's work on the bill?
Sure. So there were some things in the original base bill that we were very concerned about that we thought would unnecessarily restrict the path to citizenship. We thought, for instance, there was a comma missing between two words about people who would be exempted from ineligibility. So we were worried that some 300,000 people whose only crime was a conviction for border crossing would be barred from taking advantage of this bill. And of course, that would have been a huge blow. That was corrected in the manager's amendment. Another thing that we were able to get into the bill that was very exciting was a little bit of new conditions on the manners of deportation. So asking CBP not to deport people at night, asking that people's belongings be returned to them as much as practicable during the deportation process, so that they don't get dropped off in Mexico basically without any ID, any personal belongings, any ability to contact their family members and let them know that they've been dropped off at the border. We also were able to get an important but small fix into the bill, which would encourage the Attorney General to not reimburse state and local districts where racial profiling is used in their pre-trial detention practices. It's kind of complicated, but basically we called it the don't pay Joe Arpaio exception to basically a dictate within the bill that the Attorney General and the Department of Justice will be on the hook for pre-trial detention costs in states and localities of immigrants. Some other things that we got in the bill, which were really, really important, was a restriction on immigration enforcement actions at places of worship, schools, and hospitals, and healthcare centers. You might know that some of the more disturbing actions that ICE or CBP has undertaken over the years was raids and immigration enforcement activities, surveillance activities at vaccine centers, at churches, at hospitals, at schools. And this really creates fear in communities, and it makes it feel like the whole communities are being targeted, not just particular individuals. And so we were really worried about that, and thanks to Senators Blumenthal and Coons, we got some really good language in the bill that limits the use of enforcement techniques at these especially sensitive locations in our communities.
Great. Shayna, can you speak to what will be some important elements or important things to be considering as the bill approaches the Senate from a humane perspective?
Well, there's still a number of things that we want to get into the bill when it gets to the Senate floor. We're working with some offices to have a more robust humane deportation policy that isn't just about nighttime restrictions, but would also require CBP and ICE to consult with local service providers on the ground about the security situation in border communities in Mexico. So they would have better parameters for deciding whether, 24/7 deportations are appropriate, whether they need to be recommending that Mexican authorities meet certain sensitive groups like pregnant women and kids at the gate and transport them to shelters. Things like that we're really asking. We're asking for an end to lateral deportations because we think that those deportations that basically ship one person to a port of entry that's hundreds of miles away from the port that they entered through really unnecessarily endangers their lives and has proven to have no deterrent effect on future crossing. So we're looking for some additional fixes, especially in the area of making our enforcement situation more humane, especially because the bill does include a pretty significant ramp up in enforcement. We're going to be seeing a lot more border prosecutions. We're going to be seeing far more Border Patrol agents on the ground, and we want to make sure that the way that we carry out enforcement, the way that we carry out the basically deportations that happen on a daily basis are done in a way that our country can at least be conscious that we're not committing some kind of human rights violation.
Sure. Great. And Shana, this is obviously a very long process. I mean, Jesuits and lay partners have been, and many people across the country have been working to advocate for just movement on a comprehensive immigration reform bill, and now have been very involved with the process and encouraging certain elements of it throughout the writing and now the introduction and judiciary process. Can you just speak to, in the midst of this very long, arduous, challenging process, can you speak to a sign of hope? What's something that can give us hope that this truly can be legislation that is humane, that values people's human dignity, and that really, is true to who we are as a country and true to I think what our country is grounded in?
Well, I mean, the sign of hope that I see is that immigration reform appears to have a momentum all its own that's completely separate from kind of the current political polarization that characterizes our country at this particular political moment. However, I would caution that a lot more has to be done. We just kind of passed this initial stage, and the House has not even introduced or said that they're going to introduce a comprehensive package. We're hearing that the House Judiciary Committee chairman is committed to a piecemeal approach to immigration reform. We're also hearing a lot of noises in the House that we're very concerned about, that people might be legalized, but they might be put into some kind of permanent subclass status, and they would never, ever be eligible for citizenship, to punish them for irregularly crossing. And of course, we as a faith community, with our radical notions of justice and mercy and understanding of the root causes that cause people to migrate across our borders in search of a better life, really find this idea of kind of a second-class serfdom for life for undocumented people to be abhorrent. And so we're asking our faith community to continue to speak out about the importance of a pathway to citizenship, that not only embodies the values of our country and our faith tradition, but really is the best thing that we can do for the millions of people who are undocumented, who've contributed to our society, who continue to contribute to our society. And it's the best thing that we can do for future generations.
Sure. And Shana, as always, we'll continue to share the work of the Jesuits and their partners there at the Jesuit Conference with the Ignatian family. But if folks want to become more tightly connected with the policy work that you're doing at the U.S. Jesuit Conference, where would they go on the web, or how would they get connected with you?
Great question. So our website is jesuit.org. If you go to the left-hand panel of the screen when you click on jesuit.org, you'll see near the bottom of the page something that says Issue Advocacy. Click there and sign up for our action alerts. We've been very, very prolific in action alerts recently, although we usually are very respectful of our network's inboxes. This is a real time for a push. And so we've been communicating pretty regularly, giving updates on the bill. And we'll be informing you of what they're doing in the House Judiciary Committee, how you can become involved. You know, there are some good folks on that committee on both sides of the aisle. I was really heartened yesterday to hear Spencer Baucus, who is a Republican from Alabama, say that he believes that immigration has made our country great. He believes that the country did the right thing when they gave people citizenship who'd been contributing members of the society back in 1986, and he believes in comprehensive immigration reform today. And that was so heartening to hear. So I don't think we can write anyone off. I think we really have to concentrate on voicing our support for comprehensive, humane immigration reform that results in a path to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented, and that that really is grounded in the values of human dignity.
That's great. And of course, folks can also go to ignatiansolidarity.net and come connected to our many lists, but including our immigration list, which you know, we also try to share the legislative updates and even the regionally targeted legislative updates from the Jesuit Conference. So, well, Shana, thank you so much for this update. I'm sure we'll be coming back to you as we work through the Senate floor process, and then hopefully as we work to the other side of the Capitol in the future. So thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks so much for being involved.